I know we all want to receive a crystal clear sign from our angels, but what would you do if you actually saw one? Angels. We all have them. They're our unseen guides, our companions, our teachers, and they're all around us. Sometimes they make themselves known in the most miraculous ways. Join me, Level 3 QHHT practitioner, angel communicator, and Reiki master, Christi Clemons Hoffman, with stories from real people who have experienced uplifting phenomena and real-life angel encounters. Welcome back to Real Life Angel Encounters, the award-winning podcast featuring people just like you who have experienced extraordinary events. I am your host, angel communicator, Reiki master, hypnotherapist, quantum healing hypnosis technique practitioner, and author, Christi Clemons Hoffman. Before we get too much further, I wanted to ask you a few small favors to support this show. First of all, did you know that this podcast is also now a book? That is right. Real Life Angel Encounters, real people share real stories and miraculous events is out as a book. So pick up your copy wherever fine books are sold online. And I think you'll enjoy it a lot. It's a very easy read, so I'm told. And the stories are so compelling and so fun. It makes a great gift. And summer is just around the corner. It's a great beach or pool read too, if I might say. Second thing that you can do to support this show is to share it. You have friends, coworkers, family, you know people, right? And they might like angels as much as you do. So please tell them about this show and heck, show them how to find it on whatever podcast app that they like to listen to, because I guarantee we are on all of them. The next thing that you can do to help this show and support us is to subscribe or follow wherever you're listening now. Smash that notification button, bell, link, whatever it is. You will be notified the next time we've got a great episode like this one available for you. And next, the show is free for you to listen. It always will be. But we do have costs that come out of, well, my pocket. Donations are greatly appreciated and will keep this show going. I guarantee it. There is a link in the show notes to make it easy for you to just send a little monetary love our way and help pay for our editor and hosting costs. Now, speaking of show notes, do you have a story to share? There's also a link in the show notes that you can use to submit your story for consideration. We are currently taking submissions of wonderful stories like these you will be hearing. And now on with the show. In this episode, I speak with my dear friend Yazmin, who lives in Texas. She's also a level 3 QHHT practitioner, and she practices hypnotherapy just like I do. And she told me that she had some amazing stories. I think they're pretty special as well. I know that you're going to enjoy them very much. You know, we hypnotists are a very spiritual bunch, especially when we practice Dolores Cannon's work, quantum healing hypnosis technique. So enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. And please do reach out to Yazmin if you're in the Texas area and would love to have a QHHT session of your own. You will not regret it. On with the show. And next up on the podcast is my dear friend Yaz in San Antonio, Texas.
Hi, Christy. Lovely to see you. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm excited to share my angel stories with you and your audience.
So exciting. You had a story that you kind of led with that reminded me so much of one of mine with a vehicle. What happened?
Yes. So that happened a little bit over a year ago. And I think it was just the culmination of so much stuff that was happening in my life at that time. And I mean, like physically, financially, emotionally. Most importantly, the thing that was most prominent was that I was going through a child custody battle with my ex-husband. And it's something that kind of came out of nowhere for me. All of a sudden, he wanted to have full custody of my son, and he took me to court. And at that time, we had already been in court like 4 different times and we just could not agree. I had already been depleted of all of my finances. I mean, I had spent over $35,000 in attorney fees, in court fees. And I was just at the point where I wanted to settle. I wanted my peace back because we had been at that for like over a year. But the thing that really struck me on this particular day was that part of the process was that we would each get evaluated as parents. And as you can imagine, that kind of puts you in a very vulnerable place because you have somebody coming over to your personal space, your home, and questioning, like, how do you live? And how do you raise your child? And even interviewing my younger son, who was 6 at the time. So it was all just very emotionally draining. But that morning, I had received some documents that talked about, it was basically just a statement from my ex-husband and what he thought about me as a parent. And the stuff that I read was just absolutely untrue and disgusting. And he had 2 other statements from some of his friend and a family member. And they were also just very ridiculous and hurtful, especially when it comes from people that you once trusted. So, I always try not to let things that people talk about me affect me because that's a reflection of them, not a reflection of me. But when you have a combination of these different things being said about you and you know in your heart that it's not true, it does shake you up a little bit. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, I would never do this. I would never spread lies about somebody, especially when it could cost them the custody of their child. So I was upset, to say the least. And I had just dropped off my son at school and I'm heading back and I'm just thinking in my head in my car. And a lot of things went through my mind. I'm wondering, should I do the same thing? If he can spread lies, then so can I. And I actually have a couple of things that are true that I could bring up that are way from the past. And so I'm in that state of, do I fight? Do I play dirty like these people did? Or do I stay true to myself and do I stay grounded and allow the universe to handle things for me? And so I'm at a stoplight at a traffic light and I have my eyes closed and I'm like, God, angels, spirit guides, like, just please show me the way. Like, tell me what I need to do to get to the end of this because I can't. And I think it was something about me surrendering in that moment. There's something very powerful about being able to surrender. And, I used to see that as a form of, I'm weak. If I surrender, I'm weak. But now I see it as, no, it's very powerful to be able to get to a point where you surrender and you allow for things to happen, knowing that you're supported, knowing that the universe has your back and is guiding you.
That surrender is giving up control, like trying to
Exactly.
control an outcome, right?
Absolutely. So as I'm closing my eyes and just having that moment of surrendering and the light turns green, I move forward and I go to the next light, which is a red light. And I find myself behind this vehicle and it's like a little cleaning van. And the back of the car has this sticker, huge letters, and it says, "Let the angels do the dirty work." And I kind of like rubbed my eyes a little bit thinking like, what? Like, what is this? But I read it again and it said, "Let the angels do the dirty work." And it happened to be a cleaning business. And it had the little picture of an angel there. And it's in my memory, embedded forever. It's the feeling that overcame my body when I read that the second time. And it's like, wow, they are actually with me all the time. They're with me listening to my struggles. They're listening to my pleas. And all you have to do is ask, and they will give you those messages. So that feeling of peace that came over me once I read that, I said, why am I worrying about this? They've got it. I don't have to do anything except remain true to myself and allow things to flow. Because sometimes as we try to remain in control, we're actually slowing things down. We're actually becoming an obstacle for ourselves. And so, yeah, that's what I did. I just allowed things to flow. It turns out that, in the court hearing, those statements actually worked against them because it showed that they were not open for my son to have a relationship with me. Like, it's almost like they were against that. And the court did not like that at all. I never said a negative thing about anybody there. I just focused on what was in the best interest of my son. And it worked out perfectly fine. I mean, here we are a year later. My son is living with me full time. He's about to graduate high school, and all of that is in the past. And now I think back as to like, why did I worry? Like knowing that angels are always around us and they're always protecting us. I don't know why, but a big lesson. If
Yeah.
you need help, ask.
Yeah, we just have to ask.
Uh-huh.
We
That's
really
a
are
big
just
thing.
out our way.
Yes.
This reminds me so much of, you've read my book, Real Life Angel Encounter, right? And it reminds me so much of a story that's in that book and was also in the podcast in the first season. But I was going through a really dark time of life. It was the end of my marriage, and I was just devastated. Driving down the highway, crying my eyes out, and listening to Abraham Hicks.
Uh-huh.
You know them?
Yes.
Yes, I'm listening to Abraham Hicks, and I'm crying. And I said, Abraham, just let me know that everything is going to be okay. Let me know that it's all going to work out and I'm going to be fine. Well, just right then, like you, this car pulled in front of me, this van pulled in front of my car. At the back of it, it said, Abraham, the name you know, the people you trust.
Oh, wow.
It didn't say plumbing, electrical, cleaning, nothing else. No phone number, no website.
An emphasis on the word trust, right?
Yes. Name you know, the people you trust.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that amazing? And then after I got to where I was going, I started Googling and I couldn't find any business with that tagline at all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's one.
So
Wow.
your story, when I read it on Facebook, and I just said, oh my gosh, you've got to come and tell that story because it is so perfect. It really is an answer to our prayers. Now, we can ask anytime. We can always ask for help and assistance, and it's going to be given. It's not always that blatant, not always that clear cut.
Absolutely.
We just have to trust.
And now I make that habit of, if I'm going through it and I know I'm not going to be able to do it on my own, like ask for help in a very quick, easy way that you can do that. If I can give another example is, this past year, and I know that things happen for a reason, because when I tell you this story, it's going to be like, it's not a coincidence. So I've always told God, my angels, and my guides that, my thing is I want my children to be okay. I will do anything the universe throws my way. I will serve God however he wants me to serve him, but I need my kids to be okay. My kids are like my everything. And August 23rd of 2025, my older son, who was 16 at the time, comes home from the gym a Saturday morning, and I'm making breakfast, and I tell him, come have your breakfast. And he's like, I'm not feeling well. He had a pain on the chest. And I thought that was unusual because a 16-year-old that just came home from the gym, he's going to devour like a dozen pancakes, but he didn't want to eat. So I'm like, are you okay? So my husband says, you know what, why don't you take him to the clinic to get checked out? And hopefully it was just, like maybe he went too hard on the workout. So just put on my slippers and we go to the clinic down the street to get checked out. And I'm thinking maybe a cough or something. No, we walk in, it's a collapsed lung. So the clinic calls an ambulance to come pick him up, to go take him to the hospital to get that checked out, because obviously he's going to need surgery for it. And so I call my husband and I tell him he's going to the hospital with a collapsed lung. I need you to come meet me over here and bring a couple of things. So my husband's with my little one at the time. And the interesting thing is, when I called my husband, he was taking apart our trampoline that we had in the backyard, because I had a dream that something happened in the trampoline. And I said, no, we're going to get rid of the trampoline now. So he's putting the trampoline apart, and he has my 6-year-old, and he says, okay, I'm going to leave Lucas, my 6-year-old, with your sister, and I'll meet you over there. And I said, okay. So he drops him off. He comes over and meets us. My older son is in the ICU, and we're looking at what the surgery is going to be like and what to expect, kind of thing. Well, about an hour later, we get a phone call from my sister. And in the back, I hear my son Lucas screaming. And my sister says, I'm so sorry. The kids were playing in the trampoline at my house. Lucas fell and broke his arm. And I lost it. In that moment, I left my body. Like, I felt like I was looking at everything just from like the back of my eyes. And of course, the dream came back of, that's what the dream was about. It didn't happen at my house, but it happened at my sister's house. So they called an ambulance and they rushed Lucas to another hospital, a nearby hospital. So I had both of my kids in the hospital the same day, different hospitals, different situations. Both of them had surgery on the same day. And so once we had my son Axel under control and the surgery was scheduled, I told my husband, stay with him for a little bit. I got to go see Lucas. And he just needs to be with mom and have that comfort. And so I'm in the car crying, bawling on my way over there and just like, why is this happening? Like, why my kids? Where are my angels? Where were my angels when I needed them? And so I'm listening to the radio, and it was so well orchestrated that at the minute I said, where are my angels? This song came up, and it's By Your Side by Sadie.
Oh,
The song starts with, you think I'd leave your side, baby? You know me better than that. And it's like, listen to the lyrics. It's so beautiful, but it basically said like, we're not leaving your side. We're right here. And you think we'd leave you down when you're down on your knees? We wouldn't do that. And I'm just like, okay, then obviously there's a reason why this is happening. And I just have to be there for them. I have to be strong for them. Of course, they went through their surgeries, they went through their recovering process, and they're perfectly fine now. But in the moment when you think, where are they when I need you the most? It was just so reassuring to hear, we're right here with you. We're right here going through it with you, and everything's going to be okay. And it was just a bit of strength that I needed at that moment. So you can make it as simple as that. Like turn on the radio and say, what do I need to know today? Please let me hear a message from you. And they will. I'm sure they will.
oh, absolutely. I remember when this happened in your life. Yes, because I
Yeah.
was following along with that. It was crazy, but there was much more to the story. I mean, it seems there always is. Interesting that you had this dream, this premonition about something happening on a trampoline,
Uh-huh.
and you're not going to remove that from your existence.
Exactly. So I try to interfere by getting rid of the trampoline, and the universe said, well, this is still something that's going to happen. Of course, there was a lesson there for the children. There was a lesson there for me. And I think that honestly, ultimately, it brought us closer together as a family. Just the kids seeing that your mom is there for you. You have people that love you, that surround you. And the aspect of both children being in separate hospitals was a big lesson for me in terms of asking for help. I cannot be in two places at the same time. So I do need to rely on my support people, to like my mom, my sister, my husband, like all of these people that came together to help us out with meals, with support, with kindness, like all of you that reached out and like, how are your kids? Like those were just little bitty pods of love that were sent our way. And it definitely, I see it for what it is now, but when you're going through it and it's so
Time.
difficult,
Yeah.
yeah.
At the time, you don't know. And I love that that song came on at the right
Yes.
moment. You are absolutely right. These signs are everywhere, all around us. We just need to open our eyes, open our ears, and receive and just know that they're around. Now, yes, I have to say, you have another story that you told me before we started recording of someone who was on your Reiki table.
Oh, yes. That was so powerful.
Wow.
Can I share that with your audience?
Please. And again, it reminds me so much of things that happen in my life. Yeah, please do share.
Excellent. Yeah. So one of the services that I offer is Reiki or energy healing. And I had a client that called me basically like the night before, and he said, yes, I'm really going through it. My wife just told me that she wants to have a divorce. I don't have anybody to talk to. Like my energy's all over the place. Can I please come see you for a Reiki session? And I said, absolutely. So he came by the next day. We talked for a little bit, and the recurring theme that he kept bringing up was, I don't have anyone. Like, how can I lose the one person that I have? And what's going to happen with me? Like, I'm going to be alone. I don't have any support. I believe his mother is still alive, but she lives in a completely different state. And he didn't want to worry her with what he was going through. So I said, let's do an energy healing session. Let's bring your energy back to balance so you can have more clarity. We'll ask for support from your guides, your angels, and see what happens. And so I have him lie down on the table, and I'm just take him to a beautiful place where he can relax while I work on the energetic body. And so I'm working different parts. And then all of a sudden I feel this like strong energy that comes through. And I've felt it a couple of times before. And it was Archangel Michael. Like I kind of saw him in my third eye, and he was coming through, and I get this very strong energy that like very protective. And it was almost like, don't worry, I'm here. And I'm like, great. So we took a bit of time in the solar plexus. And I think that the reason why we spent so much time there was because he was needing to figure out, who am I? If I'm not married to this person, then who am I? So I spent quite a bit of time there with my eyes closed, and I see Archangel Michael doing different things on the body. And then when we're ready to move to the next phase, I open my eyes and I see this white feather on the client's stomach, just like resting there naturally. And I mean, this is my office. This is where I work. There's nothing with feathers here. I don't have like down feather pillows or blankets, nothing like that. So in my mind, I'm like, wow, I've had a little bit of manifestations thing happening, physical manifestations during sessions, but that was a very clear sign that Archangel Michael wanted the client to know, you're not alone. I'm right here with you fighting this battle. And so I couldn't wait to finish the session so that I could tell him what had happened. I left the feather where it was and I kept working. And at the end, when he came back into full awareness, I asked him, look down at your stomach. Do you see what's there? He's like, where did that? I told him, I don't have any feathers here. It just like manifested itself on you as I was working with Archangel Michael that came through for you. And he was like, whoa, is that what it was? He said, when I was in the beautiful place, I kept seeing feathers. And I thought it was maybe like a bird somewhere where the feathers were falling, but they were white, beautiful feathers with specks of golden light as they were coming through in the light. And he was like, wow, yeah, I've never had an experience like that before. So I was very emotional just to see that the power that faith in our belief system can have to create and to bring things into manifestation so quickly, especially.
Cool.
But
Yes,
the day,
manifestation.
exactly. And so the day after, he sends me a message and he tells me he's had a conversation with his wife and they're, trying to work things amicably. He said, right before I sent you this message, I was at a park just meditating, sitting on a bench, and a white feather fell on my lap. He's like, so I had to share that with you. And he sent me the picture. I can share it with you as well if you'd like. It's just,
please, yes.
And so I told him, it's just a reminder again that you are not alone. I know that was one of your biggest worries. You're not alone. You have your spirit guides, you have your angels, and all you have to do is talk to them. All you have to do is connect, whether it be through a song, whether it be through a sticker in the back of a car. We just need to be open to how these messages come and know in our hearts that we are connected, that we're protected, and we're never going to be let down by our spirit guides and our angels.
If we only realize that we're never alone, I mean, that is such a huge thing. That's why I started the podcast. That's why I wrote the book. That's why I do anything that I do. I started with the premise that decades ago, you're never alone. And we're so much more than we think. Now, I don't know if you were aware, but Archangel Michael's calling card is a white feather.
You had mentioned that before, and I was like, wow, then it's definitely confirmation that he wants it to be known. I am with you and I'm fighting this battle with you. You are not alone. Yeah.
Yeah, Archangel Michael, he is a protector. He is all about courage. He's the patron saint of soldiers, policemen, firefighters.
He's the one with the sword. Is that right?
Yeah. He doesn't use the sword to hurt anybody. He uses the sword to cut through
correct
attack, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
But he's all about protection and just this strong, strong presence. I'm not surprised that he was with this gentleman at all.
Oh, and the strong presence made itself known. And I even felt like it was asking me, like, I got this. Don't worry. Like, I'll do the rest from here. I'm like, okay, great. I'm glad to be serving as a channel for this to happen and for this to manifest. The other thing we were talking about, Christi, is that sometimes the angels work through us in order to help other people. And we need to be open to that as well. Sometimes the angels will work through an amazing lawyer that's going to help you with the situation you have, or through a judge that's going to have more clarity and see beyond the stuff that's at the surface, through a puppy or an animal that's going to be there for you to be your emotional support. And it's more about tapping into that energy of the angels than, the stereotypical image that we think of somebody dressed in a white robe with big, beautiful feathers. I think it's the energy of the angels that really lives through us and around us. That's really helpful.
Absolutely. And they do not have to show up in their angelic form. They can show
Correct.
through people, through synchronicities and events. You talked about having the right lawyer, the right judge. Their docket could be cleared just in time for you to come in, right? And that
Exactly.
can be the work of angels and our angelic team too, just to
Mhm.
arrange things to where they come forward like that. Now, you've read my book, you've got my book, and you know that on the cover is a hand with a white feather on it.
Uh-huh.
The white feather.
Yes.
So that's a nod to Archangel Michael, but it's also a big nod to my dad, who started sending me feathers just almost immediately after he passed.
Uh-huh.
I'll find them in the strangest places, and a floor in a restaurant in Venice, and
Oh,
on
wow.
a podium that I had been sitting under to lead meditation. And then I stand up and all of a sudden there's a feather on the podium, or inside my car, landing on my lap.
Unexplainably, like, how could it have gotten there?
Exactly. It's crazy. But all these things really do happen. Now, you do have one more story. If I may ask for more of your time to tell this story of a QHHT session that you had conducted on you.
Yes.
Yes, that was amazing.
Sure, I can definitely share it. And I don't think I've ever shared it with anyone besides you. So
Oh,
bear
we've got
with me on this.
an exclusive here.
An exclusive here. And the reason why I don't share it is because I saw myself as an angel in that QHHT session. And I've always been hesitant to share it because there's the aspect of, oh, look at that big ego. She saw herself as an angel, or she thinks she's an angel. But the message was beyond that. So the way that this happened was my husband, who's also a practitioner, did a session on me. And at the time, I was very concerned with just situations that were happening, not with me, but around my family members. My sister was going through some struggles. My brother was going through some struggles. My parents were going through some struggles. And I just wanted to have the session to get some guidance on how can I help them? How can I support them? So I go under. And I didn't go to a past life. I didn't go to a higher realm. I just saw myself standing in like a, not clouds, but like a nebula. And my husband asked me to describe myself. And I said, I'm wearing like, it almost looks like translucent, like iridescent clothing. And I look like my skin is like see-through. Like if I pull my hands up like this, like I can see through them and there's like golden specks. It's like, I guess I'm in energy form. And then he said, keep looking up at like, no, he said, float above the scene and look down at yourself and describe yourself for me. And when I saw myself like the first thing that I noticed were these beautiful wings on my back. And I said, oh my gosh, I have wings and they're beautiful. And it's like they're iridescent. They're just so perfect. And I was just in awe of what it looked like. And I couldn't wait to get back in the body so that I could like experience flying and all of this. And so he kind of took me through it, and I explained what it was like to be an angel and what it took to get to that place. It was so beautiful. And then I see myself in a room, and I'm sitting there with other angel beings or angelic beings, and we're talking about what's happening on Earth at the time. And one of the things that I said was, I'm very concerned because some people from my soul group are struggling and they haven't made it back yet. And it's almost like they're stuck in some of their lessons. Like, I want them to come back and I want to help them. What can I do? And they said, well, you can go down there and help them out if you want. And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. I can go over there and help. And I'll tell them what the lessons are and I'll help them overcome the lessons. And they'll be back here with us in no time. And we'll move over to the next round. And so they said, are you sure you want to do that? And I said, yes, of course. I want to go down there and help them. Like, these are my soul family members. But the next step was very sad and very emotional because my wings were taken away. And so I cried during that part because it was almost like I was giving up this part of me that almost made me, that was the essence of who I was. And I was doing that to help others. And so I'm crying. I'm telling my husband, like, I lost my feathers. I lost my wings. What am I going to do without my wings? How am I going to help these people without my wings? And then I go and I incarnate. And my lesson was to learn that everybody's on their own journey. There's only so much you can do to help. And for people like us, that we have this great responsibility of helping others, but at the same time, we have a great responsibility of taking care of ourselves. The best lesson we can help these people with is, I'm going to show you how to live your life, but you're the one that has to do it. I cannot do it for you.
Right.
You can't save anyone.
No.
All you can do is hope that they'll see the way that you do things and maybe become inspired by it, and to not lose our wings over other people.
I love that. You know, and I'm kind of surprised that your counsel, your team would say, sure, go down and tell them what their lessons are, show them how to move through them. But they didn't do that, because I thought for a moment they're actually going to let her do that. And no, they knew it was a lesson for you too.
It's because they knew it was a lesson for me, because they saw how distressed I was with these people still learning their lessons, that they said, oh, now I feel like they were probably being sarcastic. Oh yeah, sure. Go and tell them what their lessons are. Go and save them, so that you can figure out that you cannot save people. They have to do it themselves. You can be the support. You can be there to motivate them and guide them, but you cannot lose your wings over other people. That's not to the detriment of your own growth and the steps that you've taken to get to where you are. So it took me a while, especially when you're so close to people like mother, sister, son, and you want to help them because you see the answer and you see the situation, but you can't, because you would be taking away the lesson that they're meant to learn. And also my clients, because I used to do that a lot for my clients too.
Oh, really? To help them with their lessons. And I know, I learned long ago that their journey is their journey. It's a hard lesson to know, because it's like, I know a different way that you can look at things, right?
Yes.
But you can't do that for them. Yeah. It's a beautiful.
And so now it's about taking the horse to the water, but letting the horse drink it themselves.
I love these stories. There have been other QHHT angel stories in the show and in the book as well. There was one of the very first season, this woman, she was a client of mine, and she had a lifetime as a guardian angel over this little boy. And she didn't interfere. She just was there to help heal him, but nobody knew that she was doing it. And she just kind of watched over him his whole life. That was a very interesting session. She talked about going to the Angel Academy, or the place where they all learned, and how they learned to do their jobs. And it was interesting, because I asked her, well, what do you feel about your job? What do you think about your job? She goes, it's just a job. That's kind of interesting for a guardian angel to think. And then there was our mutual friend, Violetta Stoica from California. She had sent a client my way who had had another lifetime as an angel. Apparently, this is not that uncommon.
I think the big shocker for me was, wait a minute, if I was already an angel, what am I doing back in a physical life?
Right.
But apparently, I mean, the lessons never end. Even as a guardian angel, or, in the heart, you're still learning. There's still stuff that you have to go through and you have to understand. And so we go through these experiences to learn and to integrate.
Kind of an interesting thought experiment to think that, well, what if our biggest teachers are actually angels? What if we are actually angels? And I do feel like most of us have been at some point, right? So it's not that uncommon of a thought. Anyway, it's just so interesting to think about. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Stories. Now, you are Yazmin Tusa, right? Yes. And you are a fellow QHHT practitioner at level 3, just like me. And you're in the Texas area. Are you comfortable giving your website out?
Absolutely. My website is Yaztusa. That's YAZTUSA.com. And I practice in San Antonio. I also practice in Houston, and I do sessions in Mexico City periodically, both English and Spanish. And so I'm happy to stay in touch and support anybody that's out there that, wants to connect. But I've really enjoyed meeting with you as well. Let's stay in touch. I love talking to you, Christi. I love the work that you're doing. I know there's a lot of people that need to hear these stories. So thank you for being the pioneer and putting all of that out there.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for being my friend and for being willing to tell your stories.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening. Please subscribe and follow, and be sure to share this episode. The more people who know about this podcast, the more great story submissions we get. Have a story to share? Email your own real-life angel encounter to angelencounterspodcast@gmail.com, or visit radiatewellnesscommunity.com/real life angel encounters podcast, or join our Facebook group and continue the discussion. Want to know what your angels and loved ones have to tell you? Schedule an appointment with me at radiatewellnesscommunity.com. A special thanks to James Wheeler for the original music and to Tiffany Baumgarten for the logo design.